Hello, Tim.
Yeah.
All right, can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. With me is Scott, Jamie, and Peter.
Hello, Scott, Jamie, and Peter.
How you doing?
Hey, Tim.
Pretty good.
And we'd like to thank you very much for joining us on our show.
Sure.
Now, Tim, first of all, before we even ask the first question, is we feel like we're neighbors because you're right over there in Lancaster County and we're right over here in Berks County.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to be with a fellow, a neighbor.
Yeah, we've lived here almost 20 years now. So I'm from West Virginia originally.
Well, that's not too far of a
All right.
move. Now, the first question we always ask everyone is, when did you first start reading comics?
Boy, that's a tough one because the first comics I read were owned by my cousins. And our family used to take Saturday and Sunday trips to go see different relatives when I was a kid. And my cousins always had big stashes of comics, so I would sit quietly in a room for 3 or 4 hours and go through their comics. But the first one I ever remember owning was on my first day of first grade. I was just terrified of going to school. I didn't want to go to school at all. And my dad walked me to school, and we passed by this, I don't know if it was a drugstore or a barber shop or something, but there was Our Fighting Forces comic in the window. And I just stopped and looked at that comic, while we were walking. And then we continued walking, and I was sobbing, and Dad left me off at school. But when I got home, that comic was waiting for me at home. Dad had felt so bad about me going to school that he'd seen me looking at that comic, and he picked it up for me on his way back. So that was pretty cool. So that was, kind of a fond memory of a first comic there.
That's cool. It's always great. We love stories when parents encourage their kids to read comics.
Yeah. It's well, I was a pretty hyperactive kid, but if you sat me in front of a stack of comics, I'd settle down for 3 or 4 hours. So, so that was another reason they encouraged them.
Yeah, the ulterior motive.
Yeah, right. They were my pacifier.
How soon after that did you get into creepy and eerie?
Oh, gosh, as soon as they came out, really. I mean, well, maybe they were out for about a year. But I used to, that was my, those were my favorites, those black and white creepies and eerie's when I was growing up. And I just stuck with them as long as they were around, even like up through when they were doing Rook, and all that stuff. But, I really followed the war in black and white stuff. And that, I don't know, it had a lot of impact on my style. And I've always preferred black and white work to color work. In high school, I got really into underground comics, and they were all black and white. So, just, I don't know, I just always felt I was seeing more of what the artist intended. And I always tended to follow, and maybe it was because of the Warrens, but I always tended to follow artists more than characters. And that continues to this day. There aren't very many characters that I'll look at despite the artist that's involved. I always have to be attached to the artist, mainly. And sometimes the writer. Like when I was growing up, I was really into Don McGregor and people like that. And so I would read just about anything Don wrote. But
so
rare exception,
Who were and are some of your favorite artists?
Oh, gosh. We could do the whole interview, I've gone through different phases. Like, I break them down into developmental phases. When I was first reading, of course, I was immediately attracted to Joe Kubert and Sam Glanzman, even though I didn't know that Sam was drawing, because he didn't sign his stuff. But I recognized his style immediately. And Jack Kirby, of course. The lady that did Metamorpho, I loved her work. Ramona Fradon. Marie Severin, I loved her stuff. And then, like I said, I started getting into the war and stuff, so I got real attached to Tom Sutton and Frazetta and Williamson, and I loved Jerry Grandinetti's stuff, you know, for the black and white Warrens. Jose Ortiz did some stuff that I really liked. And then after that, I got into the undergrounds, and I was real attracted to Spain Rodriguez's stuff. I just wanted, you know, I just ate that stuff up. I like Robert Crumb a whole lot. The fellow that did Moondog, I liked his stuff, like immensely. And Greg Irons was a huge influence. Rick Corbin. Then I started getting into illustrators, you know, like Frazetta. And when Jeff Jones was illustrating, I loved his work. And San Julian, those guys. When I started buying paperback books when I was about 13. And then, you know, I loved Neil Adams, Mike Kaluta. Two of the biggest influences on me, you know, when I really started getting serious about comics were Jim Starlin and Paul Gulacy. Were just absolute total monster influences on me. And Barry Smith, I loved his work. You know, so it's kind of going like that. You know, Von Baudet, I loved his stuff in the undergrounds. But when I got into Kubert School, I really started getting into European stuff, and I just ate up European stuff for years. You know, after I was like 20.
Did you enjoy your time at the Kubert School?
Yeah. Yeah, it was some of the best years of my life, and my wife and I have talked about it too. Those were really happy times for us. I mean, we were poor as snakes, as my mom would say. But you know, I think there was one year where our combined income was like $7,000 for the year. But we're just happy as larks, and the neat thing about the Kubert School was the sense of community that we had with other artists that were there, and you know, really continue those friendships till today. But those were the best friends I ever met. You know, when I was at the Kubert School, Steve Bissett and Tom Yates and Tom Mandrake, Jan Dursma.
Those are some pretty good names.
Yeah, you know, and Rick Veach, John Toddlin, all those cats. You know, we got to be a really close little unit, and we used to host every year at my birthday in February. We'd host like these huge parties that became rather infamous at the Kubert School, and have everybody over. You know, and everybody still talks about those parties because those were, you know, when we all got together.
Does Joe talk about those parties?
Probably not. Probably not. I only saw Joe at one party, and it wasn't one of mine. But
we just had the pleasure of speaking with Joe last week, and and you know, we talked a lot about the school and you know, how he said it wasn't easy, and you guys had to work hard or you were out. So did you experience that?
Yeah, I mean, I worked hard. I knew what I was there for. And I was one of the only married students, too. So it was especially, you know, I'd been on my own. My wife and I had been on our own for a couple of years, so we knew we didn't just get there after I graduated from high school, you know. And so I already knew what the real world was like, and that I didn't want to, you know, I'd pump gas, and I'd delivered flowers, and I'd worked at a framery, and all these things, and I was like, man, I want to be an artist, you know. And so I knew it was kind of make or break time for me, and I ended up graduating on the dean's list. So it was, you know, a good experience for me, and it was wonderful being taught by these guys who'd been in the business for 30 and 40 years themselves, Dick Ayers and Joe and John Belfi and Dick Giordano and all these people that I really had a very, Bob Oxner. But anyway, all these people that I had a big admiration for, and I really paid attention to what they had to say because they've been in the business that I wanted to get into. So it was, what they say carried a lot of weight with me.
When you went there, Joe was saying that in the beginning he used to do the interviews.
Uh-huh.
Did he do your interview when you applied?
Yeah, I remember that day like it was yesterday. My wife and I drove up, and I wanted to be in the first-year class, but I had to save up a little money before I could go. And we drove up, and Joe was in the office, and Rick Veach was with him. Rick was doing some sort of project for him. And Rick was one of my biggest influences because Rick had already been doing underground comics. He did a couple of really neat undergrounds, And Joe introduced him. I was like, oh, my God, Rick Veach. I was excited meeting Rick as I was Joe, even though Joe was one of my hugest influences, And I had no idea that Rick was going to the school. And so that was really exciting. So I went in and had my interview, and, of course, I didn't know anything about Bristol board or doing things like larger than printed size. And I had all this stuff on, like, sketchbook paper and all that. But, Joe saw that I had at least a little bit of potential, and I got to go to the school. So anyway, after the interview, I walked out on the front porch, and I was feeling pretty good. I couldn't believe I just met Joe. And there was this skinny guy out on the front porch working in his sketchbook, and it was Steve Bissett. So Steve was one of the first people Steve and Rick happened to be a couple of the first people that I met at the school. And I'd already seen a little bit of Steve's work, too, so I was really excited about meeting him. And so the whole experience became very real to me, I'd never really met anybody whose work I'd admired, so that was a big red-letter day for me.
Your first fanboy moment?
Yeah, pretty much so, and really kind of a first artist moment, too, because, I was meeting real people that were doing what I wanted to do, not just doing books that I enjoyed, but they were actually experiencing what I wanted to experience. And so that was, it's real important as an artist.
Hey, do you still talk to Rick Veach?
Yeah, occasionally. I haven't talked to him in, I don't know, probably about a year or so. But
does he have a son who would probably now be like in his early 30s?
Mm-hmm, Kirby, I think.
Does he go by the nickname of Easy, or did he ever go by that nickname? Do you know?
I don't know.
Does he ever doodle or draw? Did his father teach him a little bit?
I think that Kirby drew a little, yeah.
Because I met a kid, and this is back about 1988 or 89.
Yeah.
And I was camping with my family up in Maine, and one day we were in a campsite, and I'm laying in the hammock reading a comic book, and the kid in the campsite next to me says, "Hey, you like comics?" And he starts talking, and he says he wasn't there with his family; he was there with his friend's family, and he says, "Yeah, my dad is drawing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and is Rick Veach." And
oh, wow.
I said, "Get out." And so he drew me a sketch of Wolverine, and it was really, really good. And it was like, hey, and he signed it Veach. And I'm like, I guess he could be his son,
Right.
Looks pretty legitimate.
Right. Yeah, it's. I'd met Kirby a couple times. Nice kid.
It's interesting.
Yeah, he's probably about 30 now. So.
It's interesting that all those names you listed, Mandrake and Dursuma and you and Veach and Total been not, soon after you met all of you were working in the 80s, and you all were like the next wave of artists that came into what I recognize, the names that I recognized.
Well, we came along at a great time because, Rick and Steve and Toddleman and Tom Yates, to a degree, they like Heavy Metal magazine had just started up, and we just weren't cut out for regular comics, and right after heavy metal started up, the independent movement hit. And the independent movement just happened to hit right whenever Jan and Tom and I were ready for it, you know. And even though Jan and Tom really worked in regular comics, but, you know, first. But so it was real fortunate that the industry was pretty much dead when I started school, and then it started picking up while I was in school, and different things started coming along. And by the time we were ready for it, like the industry just kind of busted wide open with the indie movement, you know, independent comic stores and non-returnable comics and all that. And so it's pretty fortunate for us, you know, and especially for me, because I was, you know, my style was too undergroundy to do like Superman or Batman or anything. And I really had no interest in doing those characters. I wanted to do something more European, you know. So, real fortunate time.
So how did you, what was in your mind when you did Hawk World and, you know, a real foray into the world of superheroes?
Well, that really took a lot of arm pulling on Mike Gold's account. He was the editor for that. He'd also been my editor at Grimjack. And it took him a few months of talking to me to kind of, because I felt I was kind of betraying the indie movement, you know.
Yeah.
And but you know, I got a story in my mind to do, and once the story took hold, then I just had to do it. So that's usually the way I operate. I don't like to take jobs that, you know, say commercial jobs or whatever. You know, the story's got to move me, or the subject or the theme has to move me, and so. Once a story hit me, then I was like, yeah, I'll do it. So I, you know, did it for the story's sake, and also as sort of a tribute to Gardner Fox too. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
You talked about meeting Gardner Fox at a convention, just kind of almost stumbling on him and his wife while they were taking a moment to themselves.
Yeah, you've done your research.
Yeah. What was that like for you? We talked about some of your favorite artists, but I know you also have a bunch of favorite writers as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a groundbreaking experience because Gardner Fox, Kothar Barbarian Swordsman, was the first paperback, well, actually about the second paperback book I ever bought. And it just launched me, and I mean, my favorite genre is fantasy and swords and sorcery, you know, even though I've done relatively little work in it till recently. But, you know, it was just sort of like meeting your father, you know. I felt like a boy named Sue meeting his father in the bar. You know, the man that made him what he was. And so, yeah, it was an incredible experience. And then Gardner was just the most gentlemanly, gentle, cordial man, you know, that ever lived, probably. But he was just this immensely gentlemanly person, and but very easy to talk to, and so that was cool. You know, it was really cool.
Now, you said you hadn't got an opportunity to work in much fantasy until recently, and you would be talking about your new Conan stuff coming out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could talk a little bit about it because Dark Horse wants to do a, you know, kind of save the main.
Oh no, I didn't mean to give away spoilers or anything like that. In fact, we hate spoilers with a passion. But I just
it's a real exciting project. I mean, I said before there are very few characters that I'm attached to, and but there are a few. And Elric is one, King Kong is another, Mad Max is another, and Conan is the king of them all in my mind. You know, and. So Conan was just this immense influence on me, and has really shaped every character I've ever done. Even shaped strangely enough, shaped my attitude about a lot of things too.
To hell with Crom.
Yeah, but so getting a chance to work on Conan, man, it's just I'm pretty happy about that.
We saw a couple of your pages that you had with you down at Baltimore, and I can safely say that for me it was the best work of yours that I have ever seen.
Oh, thanks. I'm working real hard on it. I had no idea. I mean, my anatomy's always been pretty wacky, but I had no idea how woeful my anatomy was until I, drawing-wise, until I started to work on the Conan book, and just drawing all these muscle masses and trying. Also, he's just such a special character for me that I've always drawn, and one that I've sort of honored so much that I never even really did any sketches of him or anything, when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And so to try to put all these little visions of Conan down on paper that have been swimming around in my head for years and years and years and years has been a real task, But I appreciate what you're saying, man, because I'm I'm working really hard on it.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to picking it up. Do you know when it's supposed to ship, or have they set a date or anything yet?
No, because I'm working on another project too. I'm working on a fill-in issue, or 2 fill-in issues actually for the regular book, and then they're talking to me about another project beyond that.
So we'll just have to wait and see then.
Yeah, and then I'm doing. So besides this 5-issue miniseries I'm doing with Joe Lansdale, I'm doing the 2 fill-in issues as well, and then there might be a third project beyond that. But we'll see what happens.
Cool. There
seems to be an obvious trend of the characters that you really seem to latch on to, Conan and Jonah Hex and Kadar Hall and Grimjack, this whole man versus society thing. And I also read some of your, some interviews where they kind of the questions moved you into like a little more political bent. I'm wondering, with what's going on today, does that play a part into some of the work that you're doing, since a lot of these characters are characters that are, barbarians or they're put down, or they're not the cream of the crop.
Yeah, it's sort of rebel against society. Mm-hmm. There's a time when, I think the popular culture is definitely a reflection of trends that are going on, or sort of societal structures and all that stuff. And I just think it's a time for that sort of character to come about. As soon as you have like patriot acts and things, and people talk about not burning the flag, and that's when the rebel characters come out. And that's what all those guys are. They're just outsiders, rebels, railing against structure. And,
Yep,
so
definitely.
I think that definitely plays into it. And say, for instance, if I was going to do a Scout comic, I couldn't have done it during the Clinton era. He was born in the Bush era. And if I was going to do it again, it would be right now, So, because I'm sort of unapologetic leftist in my views. I'm not even liberal, I'm definitely pretty far left. And, so my characters really tend to speak to what's going on around me, even though they're really action-adventure characters. But I've been, especially in Scout's case, and Hawkworld too, I've just been real aware of, the current political situations and all that stuff. And they definitely had my stories using those characters have definitely had their roots in what was going on at the time.
Go ahead, Jamie.
I thought it was really great to see IDW pick up and continue Grimjack and then do the reprints, especially since they're doing more of the first stuff. Is there any possibility that they're going to pick up Scout and do some reprints of that? Because I would love to see that.
Yeah, Scout's actually, we've got a contract with Dynamic Forces. They're going to be doing a big hardcover edition, and I was supposed to do 8 new pages for that.
Excellent.
And so pretty excited about that. And there's some other stuff going on with Scout, too, that are sort of non-comics related that I'm pretty excited about. So,
anything you can reveal?
Well, I won't reveal any names, but there's, been some pretty heavy movie interest right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
So with you know, some just some neat stuff going on.
Okay,
So it's
we'll let it at that.
So it's a good time to be a Tim Truman fan, is what you're saying.
Well, good. I don't know. I'd like to think it's always a good time, but
of course, it's always a good time.
It's a good time to be Tim Truman.
It's kind of interesting. And it seems like whenever the sort of whenever the political era demands Scout returns,
it's like Zorro whenever the people need him.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of your own stuff where you're both writer and artist, and you work with John Ostrander a lot and with Joe R. Lansdale a lot. Which do you prefer? I mean, which is more fun for you, doing both, or do you have more fun just doing it off of somebody else's scripts?
Well, it depends on the writer. When I'm working with somebody else's scripts, it's real hard to work with anybody. I'm enjoying working with Kurt Busiek just because he has such a different outlook, and we had a long conversation on the phone before I started the Conan stuff, and he's real into like input. I've got to be able to collaborate with writers, and just throw my own, like not interfere with their story, but like once they realize that if I want to introduce something that I think will help support their story, then that's who I get along with as a writer. And then John and Joe are just I don't know. They really value collaboration, and with them, it's like I'm not a hired hand. It's like I get into the sandbox and play with them.
That's cool.
And it's real hard to find situations like that. When I'm writing and drawing my own stuff, of course, I really enjoy it, and it's more, my own tastes or lack thereof surface more. And but it's really a difficult task to write and draw a story. It's especially like when I was doing Scout and I was writing it and drawing it on a monthly basis, and so it can be, it's artistically satisfying, but it can really wear you down, and so when I do projects where I'm writing and drawing, I like them to be just little special, say miniseries or something like that, as opposed to doing a monthly thing, because it's just physically and emotionally, it's really draining to try to keep up a monthly schedule and to maintain creativity. And even though I was writing and drawing Scott, it was definitely bad for my artwork because I got so rushed. But then I did it for like 3 or 4 years, and I just developed these bad habits that have only been breaking in the last 5 years. I finally feel like I've become the artist that I always wanted to be, even though I'm not satisfied with my work, but it looks more like I wanted it to look like when I graduated from the Kubert School, So, I like them both, and both have their their drawbacks.
That's a good answer. I have a question. You had said when you were talking about your earlier influences, you had said Sam Glanzman. What was it like to work with him on the Two Gun? It wasn't Two Gun Mojo the Jonah Hex.
Yeah, I did 3 miniseries, Jonah Hex miniseries with him, and then also when I was publishing, Chuck Dixon and I had the Four Winds Publishing Group. We published 2 graphic novels by Sam, sort of talked him out of retirement to do those. Sam's just like he's like Uncle Sam to me. He's, he was just such a huge influence on me. And then once we got together, we just clicked. I mean, we were like old Navy buddies or something, even though he's a lot older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And It's just absolute genuine thrill. And it was a neat experience. One time I had to draw a lot of Oriental characters for a story I was doing. And Sam always had this great way of drawing Eastern people, and without in any way relying on stereotypes. I mean, they just looked very illustrative and natural, but they were instantly identifiable as Japanese or Chinese or Vietnamese or whatever, when he was doing the combat war story stuff. And so I called him up and one day and just asked him for a few pointers, and I had just like my whole Sam Glanzman collection out in front of me on my desk. And he said, "That's so weird you called." He said, I just had all your books out on my desk looking at them. So we were, sort of trying to learn things from each other at exactly the same time. And it was a pretty neat little phone call I had with him. But just to think that somebody like Sam Glanzman would even be looking at my stuff was pretty flattering,
Yeah.
A theme that seems to be fairly common in a lot of your work is early American history. I'm assuming you're a big fan of that time?
Oh, yeah, especially pre-1840s. I mean, I'm just real into the pre-1840s American era, and especially from the viewpoint of the sort of regular people, common people, not generals, or politicians,
right.
But frontiersmen and frontierswomen and native people, and I'm just real into that. I can't imagine the hardships those people went through. It's a really fascinating subject and era for me.
Does any of that stem from growing up in West Virginia?
Yeah, probably. We had West Virginia history class. A lot of states don't sort of focus on their own history. They do world history or U.S. history. But we had special West Virginia history classes. And I don't know, you guys might have had Pennsylvania history, I don't know. But, I mean, we had several years of it when I was growing up. And West Virginia is just such a fascinating place during the frontier era that there were a lot of fascinating characters that came out of that. Simon Girty was one, and Lewis Wetzel, and all these different people. They just fascinated me, and my family had been. They couldn't remember when they come to the United States, much less West Virginia. So there was a lot of family roots that go back to the 1600s, as far as I can determine. So
well, that's about as far as you can go. Huh?
Yeah, and so it's just something I've always felt very fond of.
With there seems to be a push nowadays of bringing back a lot of the other genres other than superheroes, especially with DC and Jonah Hex and Claw is coming back at some point.
Really?
Yeah, I just read they're bringing him. They're doing a crossover with Claw, and I think it's Red Sonja, not for DC though, but they're like loaning him out or something like that.
Probably the Dynamic Forces.
Yeah, it's I can't remember quite. I'm messing up my details.
That's as close as they can get to Conan. So.
Yeah, but I saw some of those as your characters that you would want to work on, even right up to Black Hawk and Challengers of the Unknown. Is there after you get done with Conan and things like that, would that be something you'd be looking to push for, or was that just a list of wishes that probably will never come about, or what do you think?
I don't know. There's a lot of characters I'd like to do, that I'd like a shot at. I've always liked Deathlock.
Deathlock, cool.
Yeah, and like you say, Challengers. I've always wanted to do a Hulk story, but as far as characters like that go, though, I mean, it's sort of my bread and butter,
Right.
Have you ever done any work for Marvel?
I did a Wild Cards 8-pager, and I did a Conan 8-pager in the black and white once with Chuck Dixon.
Okay.
Writing. But other than that, I think that was about it. I didn't really get involved with them during the sort of the Jim Shooter era because I just heard so many horror stories, and I think that they've got a different sort of business philosophy and stuff now.
Mm-hmm.
But during the independent era, they were kind of the Antichrist. Even though I think I'd be able to work with them now. During that time, the thought wasn't real attractive. But and they'd asked me to do stories over the years. Like I got offered the Punisher like 3 times, and they just asked me to do different things for them.
The Punisher's a good Bush era story character.
Yeah.
Compared to some of the other characters you worked on, he's not tough enough, though.
Right. I don't know. It's Punisher's an interesting character. It's kind of maybe a bit one-dimensional, but then again, I'm sure you'd have people that would disagree with that.
You have 2 children, right?
Yeah.
Do either of them read comics?
Yeah, Ben's real into comics. My son is. Emily never was, really. I mean, she'd look at the funny stuff, but she's never really been into comics. I both like to draw. Ben's going to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh, doing the computer game design, and my daughter's going to Pennsylvania College of Art and Design, where I teach, and here in Lancaster. But she's a photography major, even though she's a really good artist. But
Well, he's kind of following your footsteps because you started in gaming. I know it's a different kind of gaming, but
yeah, he's real into it. Ben's always been into computer game stuff, and
it's a good business to be in. That's big money.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like the right time, just like whenever I graduated from the Kubert School, right when the industry is picking up. So I hope he'll be as fortunate.
With your experience at Eclipse and First, I don't know if you ever dabbled into the business side of it, but we've certainly seen a lot of companies come and go in the 90s, and even just recently with CrossGen.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think their major mistake is? Why can't some of these smaller companies last?
Well, nowadays it's down to distribution. When I was actually, I've been in the business side of it. I was the editor for Airboy, and we did the Four Winds thing, and I've just always been really interested in the business aspects of things, and I've had some good sort of teachers and mentors over the years too. I got real interested in any information that Mike Gold ever laid on me. When we were at First, and then with Eclipse, Kat and Dean were always really ready to share business information with me, and so I got a real good sense of that side of things, which is, I think that's one reason editors and publishers like to work with me over the years, because I've understood some of the things they're up against. And but as far as it goes, I mean, right now, it just seems like, when I was doing Four Winds, I remember soliciting to 16 different distributors, and that just isn't the case now,
Right.
So I think that's why we had this big flurry of independent publishers back then, because there was always some sort of distributor that would give them a chance. And I know that Diamond takes it. You get different opinions on how they treat different publishers, and even though I think they were always more than fair with me. I mean, they were always treated us great, but I think if there were more distributors out there to cater to specific kinds of books, I think it would be a healthier market. But, and by the same token, I think that because there's only one, big-time comics distributor now, that's made publishers look into the book market more, and that's why we've got a sort of a interest in, that's led to this interest in the graphic novels, from bookstores. So, that's been one sort of benefit of it. But I think that people are really going to start concentrating even more on graphic novels now, because one thing I realized when we were doing Four Winds was that book dealers didn't have to sell that many copies of Wilderness or Sam Glanzman's A2 or Moving Fortress, that we did in order to make more money,
Right.
They could sell 10 copies of any of our graphic novels and make more money than they could selling, a whole stack of $1 comics. So,
right.
I think it took, for some reason, it seemed to have taken dealers a long time to sort of figure that out. But, luckily that's the case now.
One subject we haven't really touched on is, I know, your love of music, and just what are some of your influences as far as music goes, and if you want to talk about, I know you did a bunch of the Grateful Dead comics and things like that. If you just want to talk about that.
Oh yeah, I don't know. My favorite music has always been like just guitar-based stuff from the '70s, like Southern rock and 1960s and '70s San Francisco rock, and one of my favorite genres is like late '60s and early '70s British blues rock. Like Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac, and when they were a blues band, and Free, and that kind of stuff. Cream. And
I heard you were really into show tunes. Was that a?
That must be another.
Oh, okay.
That's the other Tim Truman, the composer. But no, I like guitar stuff. But, it's really fed me. It's fed my work as much as any artist has. When I listen to Jefferson Airplane albums, like just images go off in my head that wouldn't have been there otherwise. And so, it's a real big part of my life. I'm a bigger music fan than I'm a comics fan, as a matter of fact.
Uh-oh, them's fighting words.
You and Joe Steranko. Jim Steranko.
Jim Steranko, yeah. No, I've just always tended to, I'm a real geek about bands and different guitar players. And, I can tell you all the information you want to know about Peter Green or Mick Taylor or Jeff Beck or whoever, Wishbone Ash, But,
growing up, I'm just curious because I'm kind of delving into this one particular kind of music right now. I was wondering if growing up in West Virginia you experienced any of the bluegrass side of things.
Oh, yeah. I grew up in bluegrass country. My grandma was a banjo player, and my mom's stepfather was a fiddle player before he lost his arm in a mining accident, and we used to...
That sounds like a country music song.
Yeah. And I used to work at a gas station that was right, a couple of doors down from our house, and at night we used to sit in the gas station in the garage part of the gas station, and would take our amps and our electric guitars up there, or our acoustic guitars, and these old guys would come in and sit down, take our guitars away from us and play bluegrass, and there was one real good friend of mine, John Crookshanks, played on Mountain Stage for, the Mountain Stage NPR show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he played on there for years and years, and really rip snorter of a banjo player. And I'm probably related to the band, the Dillards, the bluegrass band, Doug Dillard and all these guys. They were a famous 1960s and 70s bluegrass band. But they're probably related to me. And I just, I grew up around that stuff. But strangely enough, I hate the sound of a banjo.
Really?
Yeah. I love bluegrass music unless it involves like fingerpick banjo. And I like clawhammer style banjo, but I don't like fingerpick banjo for some reason. It's just this annoying. I don't think it's a very emotive instrument. Just like a lot of notes together, and that you can't emote on it like you can on a guitar or a saxophone or harmonica. So yeah. Even though I've known a lot of great banjo players, it's just I like to. In a live situation, I enjoy it more than I do like listening to albums or CDs.
So did your grandma fingerpick, or was she one of
the... No, she was a clawhammer.
Clawhammer, okay.
Yeah, and that's a whole unique style. It's more of a... It's very percussive. And it's kind of a bluesy sound, too. It's more chord-based rather than note-based. And so that has more of a sentimental appeal to me, I guess.
Sure.
Well, then I won't send you any Ricky Skaggs CDs for Christmas.
Right. Yeah, that would just drive me up a wall. It's funny because I've got one of my musical mentors in West Virginia is a gospel songwriter, and she can't stand the sound of a mandolin. It just drives her up a wall. I love a mandolin.
Yeah, it's a great instrument.
But she feels the same way about mandolin as I do about banjo. So. Just one of those things. A lot of people don't like loud electric guitars, but that's what I live for.
I read somewhere that you were hunting for a copy of Buscema's Conan the Rogue graphic novel. Did you ever get it?
I did. I got it.
Good. Okay.
Thanks. Yeah.
I was going to put a call out to our listeners just in case.
Well, I appreciate it, but yeah, it's I have on my website www.timothytruman.com. I've got what I call a TT art list, and it's just a mailing list. I keep people advised of projects that I'm on and stuff like that. And one of my art list members had read a post that I did at my website, and I ended up buying a copy off of them. They gave me a good price for it. So it was pretty neat.
Cool.
On your website, you sometimes sell original art and sometimes commissions. Is that correct?
Right.
So if anyone's interested in getting any of your work, they should go there first.
Right, and if they want to see any of my work, the biggest compliments I get on my website is that people say it's one of the most art-intensive websites that they've ever seen. I've got like 5 different galleries there of stuff. It's all broken down into illustrations and rock and roll art. I've got a commission gallery. I've got my sketchbook gallery and a Grimjack gallery and an Odin gallery. So I guess I've got six galleries. But, big, broad cross-section of my stuff. And a lot of people are real surprised in how many different styles I work in. Once you kind of see it all together, people sort of get an idea about how the broad range of work that I do. That I do album covers and that I do book covers and T-shirt work and game illustrations and all sorts of different stuff. So it's kind of a neat place to check out. People seem to go there, and then once they go there, they tend to come back because I update the galleries a lot. I just add stuff to it as I do it in the studio.
Do you have any of your Conan work up there yet?
Yeah. There's a ton of Conan stuff there.
Cool.
My first cover, and in the sketchbook section, there's a lot of character sketches and page layouts and things like that. So that's been, I've gotten just the response I've gotten on that stuff's been really amazing. People are really giving me good kudos for that stuff. Cause,
well, it's worth it.
Yeah, well, thanks.
Are you going to New York Comic Con?
Doubt it. I think the next one I'm going to be at is Pittsburgh Con in April.
Cool. Okay. We have listeners who go to Pittsburgh, and we're thinking about going out there too. So.
Well, I hear it's a fantastic con. I've gone to New York cons in the past, and I tend to like cons that are a little less busy. Like, I love the Baltimore convention, and I hear that the Pittsburgh con is pretty much the same way. It's a little more laid back. Silicon was good too. It was. They seemed to be more like the conventions that I started going to back in the middle '80s, where they were real fan oriented. I like to sit at the table and talk to people, and for a while when I was going to in fact, I gave up going to conventions for a long time because I just felt like I was a commodity there.
Right.
People would come up and get their books signed, and do you want this personalized? Oh, no. And they just have you to put your signature in, and then they walk away. And I don't know. I go to those things to sort of find out about people, and also to sort of get responses to the work too. And I like the non-flattering comments as well as I do the positive comments. Luckily, I get more positive comments than not. But I always like people's questions and critical opinions. And
well, then the next time I see you, I'll just lambaste you unmercifully.
Yeah,
just so it evens out a little bit.
That's good. I'm good for that. No, I can take it. I enjoy it.
All right, Tim. Well, we really appreciate taking the time to talk to you, and we wish you the best of luck on.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate
Conan.
your interest. And be sure to let me know. Now, is this going to be like archived?
Yeah, this will be. Yeah, I'll as soon as we have it up online, I'll send you a link, and it'll be there permanently. And
oh, great! Because I'll put a posting for it at timothytruman.com too. And,
great.
Try to get some cross traffic going there.
Excellent.
All right, guys.
All right, Tim.
All right. Thanks for your interest and good luck.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye
bye. So, what do you guys think is what's your favorite Tim Truman work?
Wow, that's tough because I love everything he does. I would have to say Scout, just because that was my first introduction to him. I've liked some of the stuff he's. I like the Grimjack, which he just did now. The Jonah Hex stuff that he did, I thought was really good too. But I mean, it's very tough, to differentiate, his. Because I really don't think he's done any bad stuff. That's the whole thing. I think he is one of those that definitely, when I found out that he was a Joe Kubert graduate, I knew you could tell that, because you could tell he puts the time into his artwork. He doesn't produce something that isn't good, and he's just, he's been practicing.
Right.
And that's, that just shows in everything I've ever seen him do.
I thought it was interesting and funny to hear him say that he always thought his anatomy was a little wonky or whatever. And I mean, I could see how people might think that, because sometimes there are some awkward poses or something like that. But there's always so much detail. But I'll tell you what, did you see those Conan pages that he had at Baltimore?
I never got around to seeing exactly. You guys said that they were gorgeous. I
Jamie,
never saw them.
And it's not ass-kissing. It is astonishing. Like, if you looked at that page and he wasn't sitting at that table, you almost wouldn't even know it was Tim Truman.
Really?
I mean, it's like Tim Truman artwork times 10. It's so good. I am so excited to I will actually probably pick up those issues, because I'm so looking forward to seeing that artwork that I can't wait for the trade. So it was good. Really, really good.
He had a Hawkman sketch there, too, that was just... You almost didn't want anybody to ink it, anybody to color it, because the texture in his line work is amazing, and especially like in the cloth of like his, the leggings and his boots.
Yeah, his boots were really detailed, right? Yeah.
I mean, there's just so even the. I think Conan was standing on a bunch of rocks, wasn't he? Like even that, where it was sweet. It was really nice.
You can order commission sketches from him from his website. So if you have a character or something.
Well, that just goes to show what he said about the fact that he prefers drawing for black and white than for color, because he feels that it brings out what the artist intended, and he can put all the detail he wants into that that black and white picture.
What about you, Scott? What's your favorite Tim Truman work?
It's probably the Wilderness books, the Simon Gerty, the Wilderness books. I have both of those. It's the artwork in those and the obvious and the reality of the story, the historical story is, and all the research, and you can just see everything's in there, and you can see the real attention to the time period. It's like all the detail of the native costumes, what everybody would be wearing, what they would be using, all that stuff's amazingly researched, and they're just really cool books.
Those are pretty tough to find, aren't they?
Yeah, from what I've heard, some of them and they're almost. I remember reading a little bit that they were actually something of more of a collectible or a little search for historians rather than. Even more than comics fans, they're a historian collectible.
He said that the war buffs that do the reenactments, they love those books as well because, like you said, they're just so spot on.
They're really cool books. If you can get a hold of any of them, they're really nice.
I think the problem was that those were from his publishing company. Those were Four Wind Publishers, and they, of course, unfortunately, I guess, have gone out of business. So I don't know if he has any on his site that you might want to check out, or maybe on his site he could point you towards people that had them. But yeah, from what I've seen, I've never read them. Scott's shown them to me, but they're gorgeous.
It's just mine in glass. No one touches them.
Put on gloves.
I mean, the first thing that I first saw from him was the Hawk World miniseries, and I was just like, wow. I mean, not only was the art different than what I was used to, the storytelling was also very different. And it wasn't, I think Watchmen and Dark Knight and all that allowed for that book to happen, but I don't believe he was just jumping on a bandwagon because he was just bringing that stuff, his own, sentiment in from Eclipse and First. I mean, it's not like he was trying to copy anybody. And that story is it's just well told. Great storytelling from panel to panel, and it's a 3-issue prestige miniseries which has been traded many times, and just so respectful to the history of Hawkman and what Gardner Fox brought to the character. And ever since then, whenever I saw Tim Truman, I could instantly recognize his artwork. I mean, when he did the Kents and
he has a distinct style.
Yeah,
when you see it and you've looked at it for a while, you can definitely pick it right out.
Mm-hmm. And he was so cool to meet at Baltimore. He was just such a nice guy.
Yeah, he was like a fun, just like cool dude, Hey, you guys want an update on the Mid-Ohio Con that was this weekend?
Sure.
Because we're going to call Sean Whelan, one of our listeners, and he's going to give us an update because he was there.
They celebrated their 25th anniversary, Mid-Ohio Con.
That's always supposed to be a good one. I've always just heard good things about that one, along with Pittsburgh and some of the other ones.
I guess if we would have planned it, we probably could have made our way out there. I mean, it's only...
Yeah, it is. It's over a holiday weekend, so a lot of us had off.
It takes over 100 hours to get to the middle of Ohio from here.
There is a stretch in Ohio that does feel like you're driving for 100 hours.
You fall into something and you can't get out.
You've been told to shush.
I think we've got a phone message.
Brian Deemer.
Oh, he's got one of those.
We'll announce. My call.
Yeah, he's screening your call.
He's so important.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Don't tell us to call you and then screen the damn call.
I'm not talking to you anyway, that's it.
See ya, punk.
IDW is putting out a Truman stuff.
Still trying.
Are there any more coming out, Jamie?
I think with the trade paperbacks, they've completed the Grimjack run.
How many are there?
4 or 5, I think 5. And the Grimjack miniseries has been completed.
Hello. Good. How are you? Hey,
So I think we've talked to him now.
And then I'll pick up with the rest of the guys.
Okay,
All right.
back to the guy who has to screen his call, so he's so important.
All right, you can cease your whispering now. Hello, Sean.
Yes.
Hello, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So, how was the Mid-Ohio Con?
Mid-Ohio Con was awesome. I guess the best thing to compare it to when I heard you guys talk about Baltimore, you know, how intimate it was and the chance just to really talk to creators. Mid-Ohio has a lot of that, which is... I went to Wizard World Chicago last summer, which I really enjoyed. But the problem with Wizard World is you're in these lines forever.
Yeah.
And you never get to really talk to the creator because you got the guy in front of you who has 25 books that have to be signed. And I love Wizard. I'm not knocking that, but it's just I like the more intimate approach of Mid-Ohio, and it was great. There were some people that were absent that I was kind of disappointed about. Marshall Rogers and Terry Austin and Adam Hughes were not there. They had conflicts. But the guest list was great. Peter David was there, Steve Englehart was there, Paul Jenkins was there, Joe Jusko was there, Tom Mandrake, Bill Morrison, Louis Small Jr., Don Rosa was there, Chris Yambar from the Simpsons comics, Roger Stern, Lane Toth. She's I don't know if you're familiar with her. She's the 7-year-old, well, she's 8 years old now, who is now a comic creator, and she had some of her work on display. There was lots of independent people there, and it was just a great event.
Cool.
What's your handle on the forum?
Dr. Norge, DRNORGE.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
And that's a 2-day or 3-day convention?
It's a 2-day. It's a Saturday and Sunday convention. They're actually, next year, they're moving to a bigger location because the convention has grown so much so that they are moving to the Greater Columbus Convention Center from the Hilton in Columbus, where they were at before. They're going to be taking over a portion of the Greater Columbus Convention Center to kind of expand that out. It was nice because the event allowed us to see a lot of the panels, which I don't always feel like I get to do at conventions when you're waiting in lines a lot for autographs. So it was fun.
Did they give anything away for their 25th anniversary?
Trying to think. There was a lot of freebies there. Nothing really major from them. This was technically their second 25th anniversary. Last year was their 25th show, but they said that this was their 25 years in doing the convention. So last year was actually technically their 25th show, and they did give away some things last year with relation to the 25th.
So did you get anything good?
I got all kinds of stuff. I actually, I've basically taken care of myself for the Indie Challenge for like the next 2 years. Because as you're walking in, there's so many great people that were, handing things out. Speakeasy Comics, had a great booth set up, and I ended up picking up some of their stuff. Top Shelf was one of the first booths that I came across, and I picked up a lot of the things you guys recommended. I grabbed Tricked, I grabbed Spiralbound, I grabbed Owly, I grabbed The King from them, which was really good.
Did you read that already?
You know what? I haven't had a chance to. Actually, the only thing I was able to read from the convention so far has been I read Scar Tissue, which Citizen Dave from the forum, he's the artist on that, and I read the first 2 issues of that, and that's outstanding. If anybody's been on the fence about giving that book a shot, he's working on the 3rd issue now, and I meant to just page through the first issue, and I got so glued to it that I jumped into the 2nd issue. It was that was really great. I've paged through a lot of the stuff. My wife was with me at the convention, so she immediately jumped on Ollie and started paging through that, and that's really it's a decent book. It's really good. And I did look through The King because I was really curious to see what the deal was with the whole Elvis story, but I have not had a chance to sit down and read it, which I'm really looking forward to.
Did you mention our name at least when you picked these books up?
Oh, absolutely. When I was at the Top Shelf booth, I ended up saying, the CGS guys did a great episode on your stuff, and they actually really appreciated it because they said they wanted to see what kind of effect the podcast had on, people kind of stopping by and checking out their stuff. So they said they really appreciated the mention of CGS. So.
Did you put on a fake mustache and go back again and mention us?
There you go. But they were definitely thrilled with that. So that was cool.
Cool.
I grabbed some scripts too from Steve Englehart. He had some unpublished scripts, which were really, really cool. He had a 2-part Batman story, Batman Mad Hatter, that was never published, that he wrote in 1999, and it just got kind of lost in the shuffle. And he actually wanted to, when he did Dark Detective, he was saying that he wanted to bring this story back and just do this because he never got to do it. And they wanted a totally new submission. So they wouldn't let him do it. But I have not had a chance to... I paged through that, and it looks really cool, but I haven't had a chance to look at it. And he also had, which I know that there's the Perez Wonder Woman. He did a fill-in. He was going to do, I should say, a fill-in issue, but it dealt with abortion. And DC kind of put the kibosh on it because it was kind of controversial. But I got that script, too. So it was kind of a... It was a great convention for picking up just some different stuff.
It's great.
How was it attended?
You know what? There seemed to be a great deal of attendance, Sunday especially, which kind of surprised me. I thought that, Saturday would be the bigger day. The wrestler Mick Foley was supposed to be there, and his plane got canceled. He was only supposed to be there Saturday, and I don't know if that affected the Saturday attendance or not. I kind of liked it because it actually had people going to the creators more, the comic creators. Actually, and some of the celebs that were there besides, the comic creators, Margot Kidder was there, Mark McClure was there, Dean Haglund from X-Files was there. He did a improv show on Saturday evening that was kind of like Whose Line Is It Anyway? Which was, that was really, really cool. I ended up going to that, and that was outstanding. And the attendance was really, really good. I thought, I had been at the last year's show. That was my first one. And I thought there were more people this year than there were last year.
That's
so
always a good sign.
To see that the attendance is growing.
Excellent. Sean, I want to thank you for you. In the past, you've made a generous donation to our show, and we really appreciate it.
I appreciate everything you guys do. I know that putting on the show isn't cheap. I know you guys do it for the fun of it, but I just wanted you guys to know that the fans out there that are listening to your show really do appreciate what you guys do, because it's this show has just been, I can't believe we're in 70-some-odd episodes now, and it's just been amazing. So I really appreciate all you guys have done.
Thanks.
Thanks very much.
I actually have, is the Shane there?
No, he's not.
Actually.
Okay, I'm actually going to spoil a little bit of a surprise. It's actually for Peter. One of the guests, because your birthday was recently.
Right. Were you the one who mentioned something about this, right, on the forum?
About your birthday?
Yeah.
Yes, I said that I had a gift for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I've been messaging Shane.
You sneaky
because I actually sent Shane some stuff in the past, and we've been messaging each other back and forth. And I said, I've got a great idea on a gift for Peter. You had a Stump the Rios in the past that revolved around the life and times of Scrooge McDuck.
Oh no!
And Don Rosa happened to be at this convention. And he got such a kick, in all honesty, out of the whole story, and just really honestly appreciated the fact that CGS had been mentioning the life and times of Scrooge McDuck, and he is just one of the nicest guys in the world. And I got a poster here for you.
Nice.
That I got from Don. It's a reproduction of All-Star Comics, the one with the Justice Society for the first time sitting around the table.
Around the table, yeah.
Instead of the Justice Society, though, it has the Junior Woodchucks of the world, Huey, Louie, and Dewey, and actually the Chickadee Patrol that are sitting around the table. But it's signed at the bottom, Happy Birthday to Peter, study up on your duckology, Don Rosa. And he had the biggest smile on his face as he was doing this. But he actually did want me to pass on to you guys. because I told him there's a possibility I'd either be emailing you guys or on the episode. He wanted to thank you guys for mentioning Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck on your podcast, because he said that nowadays independent books that are outside of DC and Marvel, he said, can use all the help they can get, and he said it's great that you guys were talking about it, and he just wanted to tell you how much he appreciated it. And he was all nervous. He said, is he going to think that I'm really mad at him? I said, no, make sure to explain to him that you definitely meant this in good humor. So you've got that. That's going to be in the mail.
That's awesome.
Sent off to you. It was really, really cool.
You have to thank him, and we'll have to get him on the show, obviously.
He was really, really great. So
once I'm done with the book, I'm only about a quarter way into the Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck. It's detailed, man. There's a lot of wordage in that.
It's good stuff.
Absolutely. I actually, I'm a school teacher. I teach third grade, and I picked up a copy for my kids at school. And one of my parents at school actually called me and said, boy, comics have got a lot of words in them, which is great, actually, because it's helping some of the parents, because I bought the Bone one-volume edition.
Right.
And last year, Jeff Smith was at Mid-Ohio. So I ended up buying a second one because I left my copy up in the room. And the line was so long that if I went up to get my copy, I would have never seen Jeff Smith.
Right.
So I ended up buying a second copy while I was in line. And I figured I'll just take the other one to school. My kids have been passing that book around like crazy. Cool. They've been taking it home with them. And it's funny to watch little third graders lug around that book that's like the size of a Bible.
That's because it's like twice their size almost.
But it's great because, it is one of the things with like Spider-Man and things like that. Marvel's digests have been great at getting comics back into kids' hands. Because Scholastic Book Fairs are carrying the digests now. Huh. So the digest program for Marvel, and I actually shared, Tom DeFalco was at Mid-Ohio, and I actually got one of the digests of Spider-Girl signed by him. And one of the things I shared with him when I was there, I said, Tom, what's great about these digests? I said, my kids at school are loving these. I said, I picked this up at a Scholastic Book Fair and told my kids that I would get it signed by you to take it back to the classroom, and they were all thrilled about it. So it is actually, this digest market that they're coming up is actually starting to reach kids because they are more affordable. And, the fact that they contain these stories that are a little bit more accessible to kids, it's great.
With all the parents on the forum and the teachers and the librarians, we're just going to, comics are going to be everywhere soon.
Yeah, this is the first year that I've had a class that's just, they've been like sponges with comics. And it's great because it's just opening them up to another reading opportunity. And it's been, as a fan who grew up loving comics and, gained a love for reading from comics, to see kids doing this now, it's just thrilling. So that going to a convention and coming back with things and being able to share it with my students has been, it's added to my joy with this hobby.
Excellent. Might as well have him join us for some Rios. So, Sean, you want to listen in while we try to stump the Rios? Sean?
Hello.
Yeah, I don't. Whenever I play music, it like cuts off the phone. I don't know.
Yeah, I could hear the music completely, so I know it's Stump the Rios time. I couldn't hear you guys at all, though.
All right.
I hopefully will be ready for this because they had comic book squares at Mid-Ohio, so I'm hoping that I should be a little bit ready to help Peter if he gets started.
All right, these are from Adam Douglas, who sent a very lengthy email in addition to Stump the Rio, so we'll read the email at a later date. First question. In the Marvel series Alias, we discover that constant superhero partner Rick Jones wrote a tell-all novel. What was the name of the book?
Sidekick.
That's correct. Question number 2.
The only reason I know that is from his from one of the Marvel Universe entries that just came out.
Really?
Yeah.
Question 2. In the greatest comic book series ever, Sandman, Morpheus was given the key to hell by Lucifer. A number of envoys shortly arrived in the Dreaming to claim the key. Name 4 of the 8 envoys, or who they represented.
Did you read any Sandman?
Oh, you know what? I did, and you're going to kill me because it's been so long that I know it, but I'm drawing a blank. I love Sandman. This is going to make me go pull out the tree.
Was one of them like Odin, I think?
Yes, Odin's one.
It's been a while since I've read that. Who? What?
Two sons.
Oh, Thor and Loki?
Yeah, but he has them grouped together, so only
okay.
Odin counts.
I don't even...
Was Bath?
He doesn't have...
The Egyptian goddess.
You know, if they stop publishing new product, we could go back and read the old stuff.
Yeah. Well, he has down, Jamie, Anubis with Lady Bast.
Okay.
He has
I knew she was there.
Azazel, Lord Kilderkin, Shivering Gemmy, Chaos. Oh, the Lord Kilderkin was Order, and Shivering Gemmy is Chaos. The Angels, Remiel and Duma. Susano Ono Mikoto.
God bless you.
And Cluracan of Fairy.
Okay.
I got one.
Yeah, you got one. Question 3. In the DC hardcover JLA JSA Virtue and Vice, the 7 Deadly Sins were released and merged with seven different heroes from both teams. Name the 7 combinations.
Did you read that one?
Yes. I'm not going to be betting it. I could go get it.
I just read it not too long ago because I sold it on eBay a while back.
You sold that?
Yes, I sold it.
Oh.
It's
sold
everywhere.
Something from the JSA series?
But
come on, Peter, you can do it.
I got it.
He's writing down the 7 Deadly Sins.
It's pride, agony, not agony, anger. Agony. Anger, envy, greed, lust.
Gluttony.
Yeah, what's the tired one? Sloth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sloth love chunk.
Envy was green with that. That was Green Lantern. That was the obvious one. Anger was Batman.
Yeah, that's correct.
Lust was Power Girl because she was licking her cousin, Superman. Ooh, I'm writing that on your book. Greed was Plastic Man because I think he was stealing money.
You're right so far.
Mr. Terrific was Pride, obviously.
Yes.
Okay.
2 more.
One was Dr. Fate. And was the other one...
But
one had to be Captain Marvel. Had to, obviously, because it's a 7. I just don't know which one's with which.
Take a shot.
Shut up.
You got 50-50.
He was getting... Captain Marvel was stealing the thunder. Wasn't he stealing, I think, from... So maybe he was Gluttony and Dr. Fate was Sloth?
That's correct.
Oh, my God.
Yoink.
Woo!
That was amazing.
I just... It's a great book. If you haven't read that hardcover, Carlos Pacheco, Jeff Johns, it's just an amazing story. It's actually in continuity as far as like the series, the JSA series. It's so good.
So that was their first crossover between their first of the old style crossovers where the JLA and the JSA would get together and they're getting together for Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm. And there's actually what's funny. Well, I guess I can't say because I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah.
But there's a villain that kind of. Well, like I said, I don't want to spoil it.
It's a beautiful book too.
Oh.
It really, the artwork is amazing. It's just a gorgeous book.
There's that two-page spread of all the JLA and the JSA running, and it's just like that needs to be a poster.
Yeah, absolutely. It was that is actually one of the his artwork really grew on me with that hardcover because what he did and the amount of detail he put in that was just amazing.
I would even say that that's probably better than his Superman Batman artwork. There's something about that hardcover that just is. He nails all the characters and there's no slacking off on the detail work and and it's not only the JLA JSA. I mean Vixen's in it and there's some other minor characters that and other villains. It's just a great book. It's a great book.
And it's a great one for fans because it's one of those where we always you can always talk about in comics how they miss opportunities.
Right.
And they caught every one of them that they possibly could without oversaturating it.
Right.
It was great.
Excellent.
Cool.
All right, Sean. Well, thanks for the update, and thanks for your support of the show. And
thank you for all you guys do. Seriously, this show has been awesome, and I'm looking forward to being a long-time listener because this has been great. So, thank you again.
Cool. Well, we'll
Thanks.
see you on the forums.
Yep,
All right,
thanks.
guys. Take
All right.
care.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Cool.
Another satisfied customer.
Yeah. Do we want to do a quick off the rack?
Yeah.
That takes the place of our call me segment, right? Calling him.
Yeah, that qualifies. Who wants to start?
I'll start. I've read two just recently and one is a good review and one is a so-so review. There've been a couple books that I've been letting a couple months worth build up, and one of them has been Legion of Superheroes. Mm-hmm. It's a book that actually, when I first started out, the new Mark Waid run, Barry Kitson, I didn't really care for it because I really liked the run before it, and I was really disappointed that they just, mid run they decided they were going to go another direction, and they kind of stopped that run. So I kind of begrudgingly went on it. And I'll be honest with you, it has been building. It's been getting really, really good. Like 9, 10. Is it 8, 9, and 10? Or is 10 the last one? The one with the Legion ring on it?
Yes.
Okay, that's the last one. And it's just been getting good. It's the story is gelling. I can see where they're going with it. It's starting to make a little more sense. When I first started, it looked like it was almost going to be the X-Men in space, where like they had these superheroes, and they were kind of like the X-Men, where people didn't want to be them, or they were afraid of them, and the adults didn't want the children to become them, and things like that. But it's going on, so I really enjoyed, and not to give anything away. I mean, there's been a death, there's been some really good characterization, and I'm really digging that series. So I give that a good thumbs up. And for one that I'm kind of on, I just finished the last 2 parts of Straczynski's first real story arc on Fantastic Four. And while I really like the humor that he's brought back to it, he's hitting Johnny and the Thing just right. This whole story arc that he did, I don't know, it let me cold, because it was kind of a whole universal story arc. They went back to the beginning of the universe, and now they've thrown a whole new spin on the cosmic storm, where somehow Reed has caused the cosmic storm. And not to get any farther into it than I just said, I'll have people yelling at me for that.
So he's like tweaking the origin almost like he did with Spider-Man?
A little bit, yeah. He's taking something that we've kind of thought all along was this way, and now he's kind of thrown another twist into it. And he's known to do that in like Babylon 5 stories and stuff like that, where he'll throw people back in time, and because of what they did back in time, it'll affect what is happening now. So, I mean, I can kind of live with it, but I really wanted this story to be good because I thought it started out well. But then he was going places where I was like, well, how's he going to get out of this? Or how's he going to get out of that? And he just kind of wrapped it all up into what I kind of said, and now it'll be interesting to see maybe where he goes from here, but I was just kind of, So I'd love to hear some other people's thoughts on what, especially now that this story arc has seemed to have concluded. I'd like to hear what some other people have to say, if they agree with me, disagree with me. Start a thread.
We hate you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm used to that.
Do you have anything you read, Scott, recently?
Actually, a couple. I read the first 2 issues of Loveless, the Vertigo Western, the DC Vertigo Western. It was really good, actually. The first 2 issues were very good.
Who's doing that?
I couldn't honestly tell you off the top of my head.
Okay, I was going to give it.
It's Azzarello.
It's Azzarello, yeah.
Azzarello, Brian Azzarello, and the artist.
I can't think of the artist, but at least I knew the writer.
You just need the title to go and buy it,
Yeah, but I mean,
or something, Gary North, or what the heck? Something like that.
Noto? Phil Noto?
Yeah, oh, that might be something like that.
Something like
with
that.
an N. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
That sounds about right. But like I said, I can't. I remember as Azarello now. It's if you are under like 17, don't go pick this up. Okay, just don't.
So it's very Vertigo in its Vertigo-ness.
Yes. It was a bloody spaghetti western fest. It was. But it was well done. It was well told. I'm looking forward to the next issue. I am.
Is that an ongoing or miniseries?
Ongoing, as far as I know.
Ongoing?
I think. My details are fuzzy when I just.
I think it's ongoing.
When I read,
you work in a comic store.
I say you
right?
gotta love it. The fact that
when
you
I
work
read things off the rack, when I just pick something up off the rack, my details are fuzzy about it. You know.
Where you gonna go?
I'll go. You
Go
want?
ahead.
I'm gonna go to respond to actually 2 different posts on the forum today alone. Asked why I thought that Marvel Team Up was so good. I guess I had just said repeatedly that it was good without really giving reasons why. And for me, the reason why is it's a throwback to comics that I read when I was in my early teens, when they were just fun and simple, and you didn't have to invest a lot in knowing continuity and all that kind of stuff. Robert Kirkman tells the story, and it's not like the old team-ups where every issue had Spider-Man. It's the first couple issues are Spider-Man, and then there's team-ups with different characters, like Hulk and Iron Man or something. And then Spider-Man shows up for another issue, but then he goes away for 2 more issues, and then he comes back. And so it's not always Spider-Man. It's just you get an exposure to these different Marvel characters. He's starting to use some lesser known characters, so you get to experience something that perhaps you're not that familiar with. And while each issue, most of the time, sometimes it's about 2 issues where he tells a little story. A lot of them are just kind of single issue stories, but there's an overlying theme, and he's building to a greater story. He puts little threads in there that make it interesting. And I like Scott Collins' artwork. I loved it on The Flash. I think maybe it's not quite as good as he was on The Flash, but I still think it's great artwork, and it definitely matches the fun feeling that Kirkman's trying to achieve. This is not a super serious book. This is not X-Men. This is a fun superhero comic, and that's all that it is. At surface value, there's nothing deep going on. It's just a fun book. So those are the reasons why I'm really enjoying this book, and I think it's going to go far with this. Whatever the underlying story that he's telling, which is still a mystery to me, because I'm 1 trade paperback behind, so I don't know if it's been revealed or not.
Yeah, they've just completed in the series. They've I guess number 12 was the end of the Titanus War or something like that.
Okay, that trade I think will be in my next shipment because it's come out, but I just haven't received it yet. So that's what makes it fun.
And if you've been on the fence with that one, now's the time to pick that up because it's low on the charts. So it could use support, not only from the trade buyers, but if you're a monthly buyer, add it to your list, make them order it because we want this book to stick around.
Yeah, and the artwork now is being done by Paco Medina.
Yeah,
and it's a little bit of a departure if you kind of looked at Scott Collins' artwork and were like, I don't really care for it. This guy's more of your standard artist. He's more along the lines, I think, of a Terry Dotson type artist. Not quite as distinct as Terry Dotson, but along those same lines. And I got to agree with Brian. I mean, it's just a fun book. I mean, my favorite issue of that, and one that stands out in my mind, and when I first saw who was in, I was like, oh, this is going to be, was the Blade Punisher issue, where it's just like the Blade and Punisher, they meet up on a rooftop. The Punisher is like hunting down these mafia guys, and it winds up that they're vampires. So Blade is suddenly in, and it's just a very funny dialogue between the two. And like I said, when I saw it, I was like, oh, hopefully this one won't be over quick. And when I got done reading, I was laughing, and I was just like, damn, this is a good series.
Did you say you had 1 or 2? Just 1? Mine is Captain Atom Armageddon #1. It's the first issue of a 9-issue miniseries from Wildstorm. It's by Will Pfeiffer. and Giuseppe Camuncoli, Sandra Hope. 2 covers, one by Alex Ross, the other by Jim Lee. It's Captain Atom crosses over into the Wildstorm universe from his actions in the early Superman Batman arc. The artwork is real. I like the artwork, and there's a couple times where he invokes Ed McGuinness and even a little bit of Jack Kirby here and there. The story wasn't a lot. I mean, I know they have 9 issues. I kind of wish they would have given me a little more in the story of it, of why he's there or setting up whatever's going to happen or something. Right now, it's kind of just all left hanging, and I'm sure it'll be explained later on. But I kind of wanted a little bit more of a story out of this. There's this random fight with Mr. Majestic that really doesn't serve any purpose, I think. And they also changed Captain Atom's look again to the Kingdom Come look, and I don't know. I just like the silver, the classics. Or not, well, I shouldn't say classic, but I like the silver with the red gloves and the blue boots. But it was interesting. It doesn't want to make me pick up the rest because I guess I'm just probably going to wait. I know there's supposed to be some ramifications with the Wildstorm universe because he's there, but I don't know. I'd have to give it a generous 3 out of 5, maybe. So
how many? There's a frickin' swear.
That's a frecking. I think.
Frecking. Yeah. All right, I think that about wraps us up.
Yep.
For today. A reminder that this episode was brought to you by Gerber Products, the industry leader in long-term storage sleeves for your collection. Visit them at www.egerber.com. Gerber Products, the protector for the collector. And if you would like to send us an email, please do so, comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. A big thanks to Timothy Truman for joining us. Visit him at timothytruman.com. Go to our website, comicgeekspeak.com. We have all kinds of stuff going on. We have a new forum that's much cooler than the old one, so come join us. Big thanks to Bob at GameCircuit.net for hosting the files, and a thanks to the guys at UpAllNightGaming.com for hosting the website. And it's a new month, so please go out and vote for us at Podcast Alley. The more votes that we get, the more exposure we get. The more exposure we get, the better it is for the show and its potential longevity. I made it real easy to vote. Just go to comicgeekspeak.com/vote, and we have like 2,500 listeners, and the number one podcast on Podcast Alley only maxes out around somewhere in the 800 vote count. So if we got half of our listeners to vote for us, we'd be the number one podcast on Podcast Alley, which would certainly draw the attention of Adam Curry and the bigwigs in the podcasting industry, and that would be great. So
they're podcasting bigwigs?
Oh yes.
Who knew?
We know. The podcasting faithfuls know.
I didn't know.
Well, consider yourself schooled.
I've been served.
That's right. And a reminder that Comic Geek Speak is brought to you in conjunction with WorldFamousComics.com, your spot on the internet for the best comic book and entertainment-related columns, contests, features, reviews, news, resources, and more. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time. This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 80. Welcome to Comic Geek Speak. I'm Brian Deemer.
I'll be Scott.
I'm Jamie D.
I'm Peter Rios.
We are sexy bitches, yeah!
And welcome to the show. This episode of Comic Geek Speak is brought to you by Gerber Products, the industry leader in long-term storage sleeves for your collection. Visit them at www.egerber.com. E. Gerber Products, the protector for the collector. Peter, you just got some Mylars, didn't you?
I did. I just got a package of Mylars for my birthday. And I'll say who it's from. It's from LT, I Read Comics. She sent a practical gift, she called it. And I opened it up, I went, oh, boom, right on my Titans.
Yeah, the first 50 Titans.
First 50 issues of New Teen Titans. Not even the Teen Titans series, just the Wolfman Perez ones. I still need...
Quarter in the jaw.
I still need...
he gets all excited.
I know.
He gets all excited and then he loses track.
I still need more, but and that's not a call, for people to send me more. But
yes, it is.
They're great. They're great. Standard size. My light's 2.
The 2 mil. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. If you entered the contest in November, just hang tight. Probably in the next episode or so, Cameron will have picked a winner. So we'll promise to keep you updated. And a reminder that our December book of the month is Animal Man, the first Animal Man trade paperback by Grant Morrison. And you can get that at instocktrades.com for 40% off. So check it out. And our episode for the day is an interview with comic writer and penciler Timothy Truman, who's known for such things as Grimjack, Scout, some Jonah Hex work, and upcoming Conan stuff. So... here's Tim.